right, everybody, welcome back to the seasonal wrap-up show. It's time to jump into the spring 2023 season. Still playing catch-up, but I'm chugging along as fast as I can. We got 42 anime to catch up on. Most of them will probably not make it, but we'll see what happens. So, yeah, we got 36 in the random category and then 6 end caps here, so we'll probably get 6 episodes. Hoping to get 6 episodes out of this, what do you call it? This batch of episodes. So, let's just roll right into it then. Pull up ye old random number generator. So we got 36 randoms. First number is 17, which is... Oh, Ranking of Kings, Treasure Chest of Courage. We're just jumping right into one of the big names. I don't know if this is a full series or like a bunch of specials or an OVA or something. Let's find out.
Well, that definitely wasn't what I was expecting, though not in a good way, to be honest. So, I guess Ranking of Kings, Treasure Chest of Courage is basically like an episodic side story kind of series. And that's not really what I'm looking for from Ranking of Kings. So, like, I'm not a huge Ranking of Kings fan in general, mostly because I thought the last arc of the anime shit the bed. But the parts that I did like were like the plot-centric stuff and the like character development type stuff. So episodic character, random character stories that don't really go anywhere and are just like there for like fun character interactions are not really what I'm looking for from this particular franchise. It's like, they're fine, they're serviceable, and the animation's still really solid, but I'm just not interested in what's being shown to me. I got through like 3 stories from this series, so an episode and a half I got in, and I'm just like, this is okay, but I'm just not interested in a bunch of side stories for this. 20 side stories is probably what it's going to turn out to be from this franchise. I'm in between seasons. I don't even know if season 2 has been announced yet or not. But, yeah, not looking... This is not what I'm looking for, I guess. Oh well.
Alright, Ranking of Kings spinoff is off the list. So let's see what we roll next. Crank down the number generator, and we're gonna get 10, which is My Love Story with Yamada-kun at level 999. I know a lot of the people on my Twitter timeline loved this show. I think it's like a shoujo romance kind of thing. Let's see how it do.
There are some truisms about the world. Water is wet, the sun rises every day, and Morio Osaka continues to be the best director for shoujo/shoujo adjacent anime rom-coms. I just finished all of My Love Story with Yamada-kun at level 999. This was a fun-ass show. Super bubbly and funny, super wholesome, but with just the right amount of emotional edge to it. Just the right amount of people being shitheads. Because, like, I don't like my romances to be super conflicty. That's just not my vibe. But when there's no conflict whatsoever, it can come off as like kind of bland and like too easy, I guess. So this one, like, runs right down the middle of, like, oh, is there going to be conflict? Oh, I could see this being a problem, but then it gets resolved, and you're like, whew, safe. Speaking of which, all the characters in this show are incredible. Akane as our MC, just this bubbly, almost duncy kind of lead girl. Love that this takes place like this is an interesting kind of setting because it splits the difference between college and high school settings. Like Akane is in college and then Yamada-kun is in high school. So we kind of get the best of both worlds in this. Like, we get the, like, traditional, like, anime setting of high school, so it doesn't have to, like, dip too far out of that territory. But also, we get college kids who can drink. Man, do I love a good anime drunk. Akane's drunk escapades were quite fun. Probably, she might be my favorite drunk character in anime. Just the way that she is drunk, like the giddiness, the forgetfulness, the way that she moves in the show. She might be my favorite, like, drunk character in anime because it's just so real. Like, I have seen this person in real life. It's so accurate. But yeah, Akane's great lead character. Super well-rounded. Just generally very fun to be around. And on the opposite end, we have Yamada, who is like the opposite of well-rounded, I guess, where he's got very specific things that he's very good at, and then other things where he's just a complete dunce at. Like, he's obviously very good at gaming, and he's also extraordinarily kind. Like, he just has this intuitive kindness to him, but he is very socially inept, and that leads him to be, like, being very blunt and brash a lot of times. Just can be a little insensitive, even though he doesn't mean to be insensitive, and he just kind of intuitively knows what the right thing is to do to make people happy, and in particular to make Akane happy. And watching him, like, slowly gain more social awareness as the series goes on was a really fun arc to see for this character. I know I personally relate to him a lot with just not getting social cues sometime. We're anime fans. This is us. This is us. But despite his social ineptitude, he has really strong chemistry with Akane, who is just this bubbly ball of sunshine, even when she's down in the dumps. And they have great, like, chemistry, both as friends and romantic chemistry. There is some really romantic scenes in this, even though we don't get, like, the confession until the very end of the season. By the way, I hope this gets another season. I would like another season of this, to see what they're like as a couple. That would be interesting to see. Yeah, there's some pretty, like, sultry moments in this, and just very intimate kind of moments, like when Akane is, like, sick and Yamada has to take her to the hospital and then take care of her. Just really good, like, romance moments. It's like that blended with, like, very standard anime tropes. Like, we've got the dangerous Japanese flu that can kill you. the anime flu that can, like, completely kill a man. So that was fun. Yeah, our two leads are really great, and the whole supporting cast is really strong as too. We got Eita as the cross-playing in terms of his video game character, kind of group mom of sorts. Except he's also really hot. Most of the characters in this are really hot, like the guys and the girls. Then we have like his little sister Runa, who was probably the biggest source of tension in just being like a bratty high schooler. Or no, she's a middle schooler, I think. Just being a bratty middle schooler who doesn't want stuff to change around her. She doesn't want to let other people in. She's just fine with her group, and she doesn't want that group to get bigger because it's a pain. And watching her like work through those emotions and grow closer to Akane was really fun. I love what's Takezo, the old man of the group. He's just this absolute pure-hearted man who's just like so fun. Like, I feel like he would like start crying if you said something mean to him. But he is just so precious, and but also like very like I will do whatever I can to help the people around me, or to help my friends. He's just so precious and wholesome. I love him. And, all the characters in this are great. Momo, Akane's like best friend. Tsubaki, who's the other romantic rival in this series. The way her arc ends might have been a little too clean, I guess, but still very fun to watch her go through these very complicated emotions. I did like there was a very noticeable difference between like what Tsubaki points out is why she likes Yamada versus all of the good points that Akane points out about Yamada, and I think that's visually, like, you can see through Yamada's facial expressions that he values Akane's a lot more than Tsubaki's. So that was really fun. Yeah, that's the other thing about the show is the presentation is just really fucking on point. It's a Morio Osaka shoujo-ish kind of series. I keep saying shoujo-ish because I don't think this is technically shoujo. I don't think it ran in a shoujo magazine, so that's not why I'm not calling it shoujo. I could be wrong, but it definitely feels like a shoujo, right down to the like very the constant like right. There's this thing in shoujo manga where it's in all manga, but it is much more prevalent in shoujo, where a characters will be speaking, but then there will be like extra dialogue in super small script next to the character's head, and they do that in the anime. Like they don't like have the characters voice acted, but the text is there as like extra verbal dialogue. So, and of course it's Morio Osaka directing it. This is the guy who did Cardcaptor Sakura and Ore Monogatari. I know there's a bunch of others that he's done, but I can't name them off the top of my head. But I think it's been a while since he's directed something. Like, I think the last thing he directed prior to this was Cardcaptor Sakura Clear Card, which I wasn't as huge a fan of. But that was also before I got Magical Girl pilled, I think. So I wonder if I go back and rewatch that, I'll like that more. And I might like the original Cardcaptor Sakura more. Yeah, just the presentation for this show is just so solid. I think I only caught like 2 minor animation errors or just faults throughout the entire series. One was like I vaguely noticed a CG crowd shot, and the other was like between cuts the position of a character on a bench changed slightly. Aside from that, this show is just so on point with its visuals, super strong character designs, really great color design. And And just the visual directing is really great. The way things are framed, the extra visual imagery of stuff, like putting it, like the way he like shows the passage of time by layering clocks over things, was really fun. I think my favorite like visual joke slash imagery is like when Momo is just doing some verbal jabs at Akane, and it's like a POV shot from Akane's point of view, and you see like the screen like flash red for a sec in like a radial kind of pattern, sort of the way that like if you got hit in a video game and your screen would like flash red when you're taking damage. So really liked that. Oh, all the gaming elements were pretty fun with this too. They were pretty bare bones, but they worked well in terms of like developing the chemistry of the different characters, and just it was an easy way to get all of these characters to converse in a different setting other than like a cafe or something. And the way that different characters come to this game for different reasons was really fun to see as well. And the different level of investment in the game, and so on and so forth. This was just a super strong visually. Again, when it really wants to crank up like the emotion of a scene, the color design is so good and the lighting's so good. The contrast in like color tones between like Akane and Yamada to show like the sunshine radiance versus like the icy sort of standoffishness or just coolness of Akane or of Yamada. This is just a really visually solid show with really strong like visual cues to make things look more interesting than just back and forth talking. And also the soundtrack was really solid too. Like there's one track that sounded almost like lo-fi-ish. Like it reminded me of like Nujabe's tracks. Almost. Like there was one track in there like that. And then there's like some really good like orchestral pieces, some really good piano pieces. Just perfect tone setters. But that lo-fi track, I'm going to have to find it later because I just really enjoyed it. Speaking of sound, I believe Inori Minase was Akane in this. Pitch perfect. Absolutely spot on for this character. Super great acting. I really enjoyed this show. I saw Sha posting about it when it was airing, and I'm like, okay, Sha's usually on point with like finding really good anime that no one's talking about. This was a damn good show. I wouldn't mind a season 2. Good times.
Alright, Yamada-kun is done. We're going to move it fairly high up on the list. I'm going to put it in the number 6 spot for now. And you get a decent 8. Real strong showing for romance so far in this year, I gotta say. And now, let's go back down to the random stuff. How many randoms do we have now? 34. So let's pull up the random number generator and see what we get. It is 4. The Aristocrat's Otherworldly Adventure. This sounds like it's the first isekai of the season, so let's figure it out.
Wow, I gotta say, it's pretty rare, even by bad anime standards, for me to know within 5 seconds that this show is total dog shit. Like, literally, the second shot of the show. The first shot, just generic establishing shot of convenience store. second shot. Really poorly drawn, generic ass light novel MC. Wow. Like, this is when I need people to understand. Like, this is the same. I'm recording this the same day as one of those posts about how, like, oh, there's only like 4 good anime that air every season. Like, I just saw one of those tweets today. It was making its round, and I need people to understand that this is the kind of shit that no one sees. This is what the bottom barrel is. The people who like post that shit don't actually see the bad shows. They just watch mediocre, super popular shows that still look competent. They don't know what the scale actually is. That's why I finished like 70 anime last year. Across all like TV shows, movies, OVAs, etc. Because I know how far down the bottom is. This is pretty close to the bottom. Immediately nonsensical characters, terrible editing, really weak visual design. It's bad. This, if you want to know what a actually bad anime is, not bad through like complete, through completely not just through terrible writing or like some kind of production mishap or anything like, or like nothing specifically wrong with it. If you just want an anime that is bad across the board, watch this. Don't actually watch this though. This sucks.
Can I also just briefly talk about how shitty this title is? Because it's called The Aristocrat's Otherworldly Adventure, which implies that it's an aristocrat going to another world, but it's actually just about a generic dude going to another world and becoming an aristocrat. So, like, grammatically, this title irks me. Anyway, goodbye. Let's move on to another show. Crank down the random number generator. We get 32. What do we get? Oh, Musume, Road to the Top. This is like a 4-episode thing, I think. Man, I might have like multiple completions in this first video. Let's give it a go.
Goddamn, I fucking love them horse girls. I just finished all of Musume, Road to the Top. That was damn fun. Only 4 episodes. Which was surprising, but I guess this was just like a mini-series. And apparently it was directed by a Chinese director. I forget, it was like Cheng Zi something. Which does make sense because there are a lot of shots in this series that if you are like vaguely familiar with Chinese animation, there are definitely some like character movements and camera movements that are more typical of Chinese animation than they are of anime. But also, what I noticed immediately is, holy shit, this show looks incredible. Like, it's not as consistently good looking as Season 2, but I think this might have higher peaks than Season 2, because there is just absolute fucking explosions of unhinged animation, especially in that last race where everything just, the line work just goes absolutely fucking feral, and just the way that the way everything is composited looks so fucking cool. It reminds me a little bit of Fate Grand Order, the TV series. in terms of like the color design and compositing. And but I watched the first episode, I'm like, fuck, they're going hard on the animation. So I looked into the staff, and I got to the chief animation director, and I looked at his stuff to just Doga Kobo, Doga Kobo, Doga Kobo. I'm like, there it is. There it is. And apparently the director was for this show was the director of photography for Anima Yell, which was also a Doga Kobo show. I love me some Doga Kobo animation. Although I don't think, off the top of my head, I don't think I know any Doga Kobo shows that are as explosive as this. But also I don't think there are many Doga Kobo shows with settings that allow for stuff to be as explosive as this. Yeah, the animation is really the star of the show here. Again, there are definitely some a couple compositing issues here and there. The CG models come out pretty frequently, but man, those peaks are so fucking peak that it more than makes up for it. Even though the story is good, the animation just vastly outshines it. But speaking of which, pretty solid story. I pretty much enjoyed in the moment, I enjoyed pretty much all of it. I really liked our three leads for this one. Top Road is our typical Genki girl-ish kind of archetype, just works hard for everyone's sake, and that kind of comes back to bite her because the pressure just gets to her of not wanting to disappoint everyone. And then we have Ayabe with the weirdest internal conflict that I've seen, definitely from this franchise, possibly from a lot of anime, where she is basically running for her sister who died in the womb with her. Wild shit. It gives that arc definitely, or that character arc definitely gives us that angst that Uma Musume occasionally dips into with this pseudo dark character kind of stuff. It never goes too far with any of that, but it has a pretty fun fun resolution, and it really ramped up but it also really ramped up the tension between her and Top Road. And then we have Opera O, TM Opera O, who doesn't really have any conflicts in this series because she is just a giant ball of confidence, and she's just like, I'm going to win because I am me. Fuck you. The one thing where I guess I could kind of critique the story is pretty much after the first race, I knew pretty much every major story beat as to how this series was going to be structured. It's like, okay, this person won the first race, therefore this person has to win the second race in the second episode. Third episode's going to be the break episode, and then the last person has to win the race in the last episode. So, again, it was still fun to watch, but if you're looking for something that's not predictable, you're not going to find it here. But yeah, all the characters were super fun to follow. Loved Opera O's voice acting. Apparently I'm used to her playing more cutesy voices in anime. So this more boisterous One-sama kind of voice. No, not One-sama, just that Takarazuka male-sounding voice, I guess. I don't know what the term for that kind of voice is. Maybe one of you will know in the comments. But loved her voice acting. Opera O, best girl. Yeah, not a whole lot to talk about with this one, really. It's just a quick in and out 4 episodes. With that Uma Musume hype that you usually get. I do think the length does hurt it a little bit in some areas in that we don't get quite as much characterization as we could have. Like, we could have used a few more downtime moments that would have also helped with the predictability elements. And so, like, the emotional heights don't end up being as high as Season 2. But damn, that final race was still fucking hype. Really enjoyed that. Musume is still good. Can't wait to get to Season 3 in, like, 6 months.
Alright, Musume, Road to the Top, come on, is complete. We're gonna put you just a few notches lower than Yamada-kun just was, at number 8, and you get a decent 8. A lot of strong contenders so far from the spring season. Alright, now back to the randoms. Apparently I forgot to add this Netflix anime to the random section, Yakitori, so we won't be bumping down the random number generator this time. We're just going to re-roll it again and see what we get. 2, high up on the list. Cheat skill in another world. Okay, another isekai. Woo.
You know, there is such a thing as too much of a tragic backstory. Or more accurately, if you're going to have a tragic backstory, at least make it good and believable. I got through some number of minutes of episodes of cheat skill something whatever. This show sucks too much for me to remember the title. First of all, it looks fucking awful. I absolutely cannot stand these character designs. The color palette screams edgy. Literally, like, the first time you see, like, a crowd of people walking, it looks like how the early episodes of Pokemon were animated for walking, where it's just like that, where they just, like, move the character model up and down. It's hilariously bad. But I think there's potential in this idea for this tragic backstory of this fat kid who is rejected by the society around him. But I think there's 2 things wrong with it. One, they go way too fucking far with it. Like, they make his family just absolutely fucking hate him, except for his grandpa, and the implication is solely because he's fat and ugly. Like, what the no. Like, maybe give us, like, a religious reason for it, or maybe he's a bastard kid or something. Something other than just, he's ugly. And 2, since I've seen the OP, I know that when he gets isekai'd, I didn't even get to the part where he gets isekai'd, I know that when he gets isekai'd, he gets a hot body afterwards. So, then what's the point? What is the point of his struggle with being an ugly outcast then? Like, I hate to bring this up as a positive example, but at least in Excel World, the fat kid stayed a fat kid, at least as far as I can remember, and, like, he didn't need to become hot to get his love interest's attention. At least, I think I'm remembering that right. He just had to be a good person. So when I see this OP and we have this hot MC with a hot love interest fawning all over him, but that hot MC used to be an Uggo, it makes me go like, well, that's incredibly superficial. fuck you.
Alright. Cheat skill is off the list. Gonna take it off. And how many do we have left? We're gonna do one more rando before we jump to our end caps. So let's see what we roll. It is 22. Kizuna no Allele. I've not heard anybody talk about this show, but I know it got like a second core somehow that's airing right now. I at least want to know what it's about.
You know what? I gotta say, that one surprised me. Mostly because I didn't know that Kizuna no Allele was gonna be about Kizuna I, the fucking VTuber. I boot up the episode and immediately it's just like a message from her. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess this is gonna be like starring Kizuna I? And then like it starts with like the like motion capture VTuber stuff. And then it transitions to like a pre-rendered music video of Kizuna I singing some kind of J-pop song. Then it transitions to a different motion capture of a different person who turns out is actually the main character. And then it cuts to just the OP and then just traditional animation. And surprisingly, of those three different types of animation, the traditional 2D animation is the worst looking one. Anyways. The show is boring. Immensely boring. Like, if it was just like VTuber skits and music videos, it would probably be more interesting than what it is, because the story is so boring, the main character is so bland and uninteresting, the animation is super mediocre, and also I'm not super interested in Kizuna I. I prefer many other VTubers, mostly the EN ones like fucking Musume and Gura and Mori. I do like some. Are there any JP ones that I like go out of my way to follow? Not really. But I'm more a fan of like Hololive and Niji Sanji than I am whatever. I actually don't know what agency Kizuna I is. Is she Hololive? I don't think so. Because she's been around way before Holo EN. So anyway, this show's boring. So we're gonna move on.
Okay, Kizuna no Allele is off the list, which means it's time for our first end cap show, Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury. I put off the first core from back in the fall 2022 season just so I could watch this all in one go, so hopefully I didn't make a mistake there. Let's watch some fucking Gundam.
Alright, just finished up all of Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury. Man, where do I start with this one? This was, overall, I would say, really strong first half, hot mess of a second half, but it was a beautiful hot mess. There is just so much to talk about with this show. But I guess I'll lead off with the thing that I thought was most interesting about the first half that didn't really get continued in the second half. Again, we'll get to that later, but the way that it plays with like words in like a political and economic sense of like just, and how that affects like legality and treaties and everything. It's like, what is a Gundam? What isn't a Gundam? Because in this world, like, Gundams are basically like, it's like it's like a variation of what they did with IBO, where it like links directly with your body, but like in a more neural network information kind of way. And it's basically like Gundams in this world. If you push them too hard, they basically destroy your body. Again, kind of like IBO. It's not new type stuff, but it's basically like a way of making everyone kind of a new type through technology. I would still consider myself a Gundam novice, but okay. I've seen 79, Zeta, Double Zeta, Char's Counterattack, War in the Pocket, F-91. I've seen like 2/3 of Stardust Memory. IBO. I've seen like 2/3 of the first season of Build Divers. Kukuru's Dawn's Island, the movie. I swear there was another one besides this. And then Witch from Mercury. And IBO. Did I say IBO? I don't know. And I still consider myself a Gundam novice, having seen all that. Because it's like, I just haven't fully wrapped my head. Like, you see stuff, I'm just like, I know the basics, but that's about it. So, anyway, Witch from Mercury. I love the way that it plays with, like, wording in this. And it's like, is this a Gundam and should it be banned? Is it not a Gundam? Is it or is it not? And it's I love in the, like, prologue episode, it's basically like, it's a Gundam because I say so. And I'm like, fucking okay. And I think that has I definitely found some parallels to a lot of stuff that we're seeing today. Like, is it a ceasefire? No, it's a humanitarian pause. So I think that is and this show came out before that conflict. So, very prescient, that's the thing about Gundam, is it really knows politics well. Like, it really understands, like, how, like, political organs kind of function and how bureaucratic organs function. And that was one of the things that just constantly kept you guessing in this show, is just like, who's going to align with who in what way. Obviously, it's always because of greed, usually. But sometimes you can just get sometimes it's charisma, sometimes it's ideological, sometimes it's a whole mess of things. And the way that different bodies, like companies and governmental bodies and different alliances shift and form throughout the series was, it always kept you on your toes, being like, who's going to align with who now? Sometimes it's bullshit. I'll just freely admit that, but it's like, they smooth the bullshit over in a way that's palatable. Again, via that rhetorical wordplay shit. But it's all... but that also leads into, like, this is obviously a very political series, and so the politics themselves are messy. Very, very messy. Because it kind of doesn't... It kind of goes with I think what it came away with is that all of the, like, Spatian corporate bodies and governmental bodies are greedy assholes, and they are all wrong. I don't quite understand what it has to say about the Earthian, like, protest movements and terrorist movements within the... Because, again, there's a lot of factions in this show. We're approaching, like, I guess, no, that's not a good comparison, but I was going to compare it to, like, Zeta Gundam and all the different factions in that, but I think it's even more complex than that. And so, like, I, I don't, I don't quite understand what it is attempting to say about the Earthian movements, because it's very muddled. Sometimes they're portrayed very positively, and sympathetically. Sometimes they're portrayed as like psychotic, um, and that kind of gets muddled even more when you consider that like most of the Earthians, like and specifically the ones that are still on Earth, are people of color. Like they're very clearly like black and brown people who are the leaders of this movement. And so it's like, I don't understand how you are portraying these people. And the fact that they made that artistic choice is definitely saying something. And from what I know, Gundam has always been a fairly progressive series, at least in terms of like, not foreign politics, but just like international politics, I guess. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I see that's one of the things where it's like this leads into probably my biggest problem with this show. It needed to be twice as long. It really needed, like, is I don't know if it's like the industry, just the fact that the industry is on its last legs, or if Bandai did not like this concept at all for reasons that we'll get into shortly, or something else entirely. But the fact that this was only 25 episodes, including the prologue, and not the full 50 that Gundam usually gets, I think that seriously hampered the depth of storytelling that this show could delve into. We needed way more time spent with the Earthians to figure out like the vibe of that. We needed way more time spent with some of the individual side characters to flesh them out a little bit, because I don't even know like of the Earth House in the school. I don't even know what the black guy's name is. I'm sure they said it at some point, but I just don't even remember what it was. And he's on screen fairly often, so I don't like. This show needed to be so much longer, and like so. Just to delve into like the more the nuances of it, because like there is plenty of nuance on screen, but it's so condensed and so muddled that it's very hard to pick apart that nuance. Maybe a second viewing will do it. I doubt it. I wouldn't mind watching this again, to be honest, because it's an incredibly compelling series. Like the drama of this, the just straight up melodrama of the character interactions and the company politics. It's just it's so fun to watch. Like I like all of the characters. Like I don't think there's a character in here that I dislike. But there are plenty of characters that I definitely wanted to see more of. Like from the Dueling Council, Cecilia. Based on her design, I figured she was going to be way more important, and she just was not. I imagine in earlier drafts she might have been, but she just wasn't. But speaking of the characters, I just found so many of their struggles to be very compelling. Suleta's immense social anxiety paired with like her basically needing to fend for herself in a certain way, and like her attachment issues to different people. Miorine's just giant ball of corporate political troubles, that the way that people are just constantly forcing their opinions on her, the way she's being controlled by outside forces. Guel's just transformation from pompous asshole to absolutely depressed wretch to upstanding guy. Really solid character arc there. Really ended up liking him quite a bit by the end. But then again, it still needed a little bit more detail to him besides that. Like, I want to know a little bit more about him personally. I want to see a little bit more nuance, a little bit more like superfluous details about these characters. Just I'm already all of the, if I just keep rattling off all the character details, we'll be here all day. But like, there's like Nika. I wanted to learn more about Nika and why she, I think it's she, why she does what she does in the series, the way she kind of sells people out for the sake of her dream. That came on kind of suddenly too, and I just wanted to know more, especially because, yeah, this is just, I wanted more. I wanted like twice as much as we got. Now, if it was twice as long, maybe the pacing wouldn't have been as good, because the pacing in the show is really fucking good. This is just lightning fast, constantly hitting you with everything. Even in like the more toned down moments, there's always something interesting going on. And I do like those like small moments of like those little like deep moments of Mioine and Suleta getting closer to each other. And oh man, that Yuri angst is just so fucking good in this show. That's my personal speculation as to why this show didn't get the full runtime, is because Bandai was absolutely against that. I was browsing some subreddits on this because I was looking. I saw that the Blu-rays corrected a shot near the end to add a ring to Miorine's finger. That was, I guess, in error, but was supposed to be there. And I saw a comment in the thread. It was basically like, it wouldn't be a Gundam series if Bandai and the production team weren't fighting constantly. So I'm like, you got me there. You got me there. So yeah, but still, the character drama is so fucking good. The directing is so tight and solid. There's just this constant push to everything. It is absolutely spectacular to look at. This is like gorgeous. Some of the action directing could get a little shaky, but aside from that, like everything, still the action itself was hype as fuck, super fast paced, always something, like the flow of everything was so damn good. This was such an impressive production. I believe they like had to take a week off early on, which also kind of fuels some speculation that maybe they didn't really have the staff behind this to make it what it could have been. Maybe Bandai forced it out the door. Who knows? But man, this was such a beautiful looking series, especially like the last episode. The last few episodes are just so fucking good. Like, there are some shots that are just burned into my brain. I feel like I had more to say. Like, my thoughts are just so congested because this show is so congested. I'm going to just keep saying it over and over again. It needed to be expounded on. We needed more. Am I happy with what we got? I kind of am, actually. Like, I'm a little bit disappointed this definitely could have been so much better. This could have been like IBO level if it had been expounded on. For the record, IBO is my favorite Gundam series so far. It's like one of my favorite anime, period. But yeah, this could have been at that level, and it could... Also, there needed to be more deaths in this, I think. Like, I do feel like they were holding back a little bit on the Gundam trauma. They definitely dump a lot of it in the second half. A lot more, like... There's not a lot of main character deaths, is what I'm saying. And also some people lived that I don't think should have lived. Or some people got off, like, consequence-free that probably shouldn't have. Like, Dellings, Miorine's father kind of gets off scot-free, except for that stab wound, kind of. He doesn't, like, really... They don't show him suffering any political consequences or corporate consequences. Suleta's mother, who basically orchestrated a false flag attack, kind of just gets to go and live in the countryside. And maybe that's, like... See, if we had more episodes, it could have had the chance to say something about that. Like how, oh, the corporate elites always get to get their golden parachute at the end or something. And there's not a lot that we can do about that. It could have had... If we had more runtime, it might have had a chance to say something like that. But we just didn't have the time. So... yeah, that's where I land on this, I guess. This needed so much more time to do the things that it did. Did I still like it in the end? Yeah, I liked it a lot. And oh, the soundtrack is so fucking good in this show. Gundam always has really fucking great soundtracks. Like, all of the Gundams that I've seen have had really good soundtracks. Like, IBO had Masaru Yokoyama working on it. I'm not sure who did this one. I'm going to have to look it up afterwards. But that main battle theme with the choral bit in the background... not choral, because it's just a solo. I think that solo singer in the background just so iconic for the series. I'm going to be thinking... I'm going to have that stuck in my head for a while. The fucking mechs in this are really solidly designed. Like, they are very Gundam while still being unique. Like, the aerial Gundam looks so goddamn cool. There were so many, like, cool homages to previous Gundam stuff, like the Caliburn in the last arc. Kind of looked like the one from Gundam Unicorn. A little bit, just through, like, the color palette. There's, like, a fencing scene between Suleta and Guel that I thought was definitely a callback to Char versus Amuro in 79. Yeah, this is... It's a good show, but it's just kind of disappointing.
Alright, Witch from Mercury is done. I'm not mad, just disappointed. And we're gonna put you right under Blue Lock in the number 12 spot. And you get a light 8. I still really liked it. It's just disappointing.